When it comes to simplicity in game design, still working well to both tell a story and keep the player entertained, the formula of the Rain series absolutely deserves some kudos. Keeping things very streamlined and presenting scenarios and questions that you're only able to answer with a yes or no Tinder-esque swipe. The series has been set in medieval times, the world of Game of Thrones, and even in a tumultuous time in China's history. Now, as it has set its eyes on space, it also seems to have had some new elements thrown in as well for good measure. The first characteristic that feels like it has been changed, at least in my playthroughs, is that this feels like a kinder and gentler entry in the series. In particular, the early runs in the other Reigns titles I've played have felt brief and doomed to failure. By contrast, while I'm sure I made some wise decisions to improve my longevity, Beyond felt more forgiving and not so hell-bent on my demise. The other most obvious change is the inclusion of a pretty basic move to the music sort of minigame, which is appropriate since part of the central story is that you join up with an oddball intergalactic indie rock band, because of course you would. What has remained the same is a relatively consistent string of problems, whether with the people you've surrounded yourself with or external threats. You'll need to be careful to try to manage your multiple areas of concern, sometimes needing to make a tough choice to keep your run going, since sacrificing just a little more of a resource that you're running dry on will undoubtedly bring your current run to a close. What feels a bit different this time around, though, is that the underlying tone is far less serious and dire, instead often more lighthearted and even silly. Trying to first placate and then even working with a literal spacefaring loan shark wasn't something I walked into the game expecting, but that's precisely where I ended up on a particularly successful but very odd ride. As always, this is an experience best enjoyed in short bursts, leaving a little time in between so as not to chew through its content too quickly. Within a few runs you'll overlap things you've seen before, but the nature of the series has always been its novelty and style, not particularly its extensive depth. Considering it has a very budget-friendly price tag, what it delivers seems perfectly reasonable, but whether or not you prefer its lighter general style than the rest of the series would be a fair question. Beyond is definitely a bit of a departure off to the side within the ranks of its brethren, for better or worse. Overall, my final score for the game ended up being a 8.3. And if you're interested in picking it up, it's currently available on the Switch eShop for $4.99. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this review. And if you'd like more information or ideas of indie games worth checking out on Switch, be sure to click on the link provided in the description. Until next time.